Morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning or good evening.
Good evening.
Those, Sawasdee krab, Kun Noppadon.
สวัสดีค่ะท่านอาจารย์จุนเสราคุณนพ
Who's that? Is that you, Al, or is that Sarita we've got this morning?
It's me, Al. Yes.
Oh,
Sorry
okay,
that-
Al. Hi,
yeah,
how are you?
Hi. Not bad, thank you.
Good.
So that just start her group today, working as a life coach. So she
Okay.
not going to be able to do this for a while. Yeah.
Just started today, has she?
Yeah, started today. 12 people, life coach
That's a
for
big
12
move.
people. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's a big move.
good.
So that's why she's really exhausted.
Okay,
She-
send our
she-
best wishes.
Yeah. Okay, but she, I sent her the link afterward for her to listen to, and
To
she's
listen.
really enjoying.
Yeah.
Yes, at least
Okay,
yes.
good.
So wait until she's ready to come in. She's
Yeah.
anxious to join.
Right.
Yes.
Good.
How are you, Sarah?
I'm fine. How are you, Al?
I'm fine too. Thank you.
Hi, Alberto.
Hi, Jonathan.
I'm not sure whether it's to say good morning or good evening, but it's middle of the night, I think.
Yeah, 2 a.m.
Oh,
Perfect time. Yeah, all times are perfect time
all right.
for Dhamma.
Hi, Azita. Hi, Tom.
Hello John
Nice
how are you?
backdrop. Fine, thanks, Azita.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
What time is it?
What time is
Nice
it there?
backdrop, Tom.
Yeah, it's New Hampshire.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
What time is it? Where? Here?
There it's what time?
For us, it's 11:30 a.m.
AM.
Yes,
It's
Monday morning.
8:30 PM here. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm? Here. For Alberto, it's 1:30. Huh? AM. Yeah,
2 o'clock, I think he said. Oh,
2 o'clock.
yeah.
Mhm.
1:20. Are you there, Ajahn?
สวัสดีค่ะ I'm here now
สวัสดีครับ
ส
อา
วัส
จาร
ดี
ย์
ค
ค
รั
รั
บบ ท่านอาจารย์
สวัสดี
ครับสวัสดีท่านอาจารย์ค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Shall
Hello,
we
Sadal. Does anyone have any question to start off with? Azita, go ahead, please.
It was to do with something I read on DSG this morning, and Sarah, you had written, I think it was an answer to Chanti about if there's no sound heard, or was it no? I didn't copy it down, but if there's no sound heard, but in that process, sound is the object of the other jitters, and I just did not understand what was meant by that.
So all the cheetahs in the ear door.
All the cheetahs in the ear door process experience the sound. The sound is the object of all the cheetahs, but only hearing consciousness hears it. Hearing is the function of hearing consciousness. The ear door adverting consciousness just adverts to the object. It doesn't hear it. The hearing hears it. The following 2 cheetahs also don't hear it. They receive it and investigate it. And the kusala and akusala cittas that arise in that process also don't hear the sound. They experience the sound with kusala or akusala mental factors. So only the hearing consciousness actually hears it. This is why we often say with regard to seeing that only at a moment of seeing does light appear. Only at that moment is the light seen. So in the ear door process, only hearing consciousness actually hears it. The other cittas experience it, but they have different functions. They don't hear it. So I think in that discussion, Chanti had suggested that heard and experienced is the same. So I'm pointing out that hearing and experiencing are different, have different meanings, because only the hearing consciousness hears, but all cittas experience the object.
Okay, yes, but well, I must have misread it. What I understood was that no sound heard by the hearing consciousness, sota viññāna, no sound was heard, but the nimitta of the sound is experienced in the same process. And I thought, well, how could that be if there's no sound heard?
No, if there's no adverting to the sound in the first place, and then no hearing of the sound, there cannot be any other moments of experiencing the sound, and the no conditions for the nimitta of the sound to be experienced through the mind door.
Okay, I'm still a bit confused. So is every sound that impinges on the ear sense actually heard?
It depends on conditions, whether the conditions for hearing to arise. So the sound has to have impinged on the ear sense, and karma has to condition the hearing to hear the sound that appears, that is experienced. There has to be the adverting to the sound, and then there has to be the hearing of the sound. Mm-hmm. So many different conditions for hearing to arise and hear the sound. And if there's no adverting to the sound, there cannot be any hearing. And if there's no adverting, no hearing, no other cittas will experience the sound.
You can hear the curlew?
We can.
Oh my goodness, they're just outside my window. Oh, well, I can hear that. Okay, so the other question is there sometimes a sound that arises, impinges on the ear sense, there's adverting, there is hearing, but it's so softly that it's not obvious loud sound like those curlews. Are there sounds that are heard that are not, they're not loud like that? They're so soft, I don't even recognize there's a sound.
So every sound is different. The sound of the curlews, the sound of a piece of paper falling on the floor can be very soft, very loud. So the hearing hears it, but it also depends whether any conditions to think about it afterwards or not. If it's a very soft sound, the hearing may have heard the sound, but not enough conditions to think about it. But with the curlew, whether it's loud sound, conditions to think about it straight away.
Right. I think that last one is the answer to it's cleared up my puzzlement. Yes, the sound of paper dropping on the floor. Okay. Yeah,
there may or may not be hearing of the sound, but even if there's hearing of the sound, there may not be any thinking. So no
thinking about it. Yeah.
So afterwards, it seems it wasn't heard. Right.
Okay. That's cleared it up.
Or
Thank
just
you
a very
much.
little thinking, but not a long story about it. no long story about the birds outside the window.
Right. Thank you, Sarah. That's most helpful.
Azita, I know the passage in the message that gave rise to your first question. But I think Sarah has clarified that it could be read the way you suggested, but that wasn't the intended meaning. So, yeah.
We can't hear you, Azita.
Yeah, this the last explanation Sarah gave cleared that up for me. Thank you.
Jonathan, 2 weeks ago, near the end of the discussion, we were discussing the asavas, and you were having a discussion with the Jamsu Chin when the time ran out. I am not finding my notes about it, but it was something that you were wanting to discuss the following week, and it has to do with the asavas and the wearing away of asavas. How, if and how, when that happens. And just to get it started, I'll throw something in here. The asavas are unknown. And I guess here's the question: until there's sufficient panya to know them bit by bit, in which case they become known and can be worn away by further understanding. Do you recall it?
Not quite. The asavas is just a term for realities that are arising at such a subtle level that they are not apparent.
Yes.
So
yes,
it's not that some realities are asavas and some realities are not asavas.
Right.
So
It's all the
it's just
level
the
of
same realities, but they have a different designation according to whether they're very subtle and imperceptible, even though arising, or not. So I think the point that was being made was that as understanding develops, what were formerly not apparent become apparent. That's all. So, yeah, they don't change at all. They're still the same realities, and they're still of the same level of intensity, but understanding can see things that it couldn't see before. Yeah. But Ajahn may wish to add a bit more about that. I cannot hear you if you're talking, Ajahn. Is that anything further on that then, Anne? No.
I think you're talking, Anne, but can't hear.
Just turn on the mic.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ajahn.
Can anyone understand the difference, the separation between sensor and minder right now? At this moment of seeing, can anyone realize the difference? The sensor process, bhavanga, and followed by minder process, experience the same object.
No.
That's in the book. That is the teaching of the enlightened one to understand the akusala, which has been accumulated so long, like the big great mountain, and one tries to dig it with the nail to take it out, all akusala. That's why just learn to understand that understanding is not I, even right now. Keep on the truth, the absolute truth of all dhammas, what is real, arising and falling away, cannot be taken for anything at all. It's just a moment to moment. Now, there are so many objects seen together right now. It seems like that. But think about just one moment of experiencing, of seeing. What is there? It's not anything at all. What is experienced through the eye door is just that which can impinge on the eye base. And now followed by Bhavanga and mind door and seeing again and again. So the idea of many things are there. That's why just learn to understand. And understand works its way according to its sharpness or strong enough to understand what is there as it is from hearing and considering. That is the way to gradually let go the wrong understanding and the ignorance and attachment to what is there now as not known as aswa. If the question is, who sees? The answer is instantly I. How come the I, the idea of I, if there is no aswa, to even not thinking about who it's there, I, all the time. That's why just understanding the truth, just be truthful to understand the truth for the understanding of the truth only, not for anyone or any degree of understanding, which has to come by accumulation of right understanding of just one reality at a time, unexpectedly. Even now, can anyone understand one process of seeing? Impossible. That's why all dhammas now appear as nimitta, only shape and form of the idea of everything, not understanding the very deeply, very subtle, that which now arises and falls away. To let go the idea of I or things, that's all in life. Not by oneself, but by understanding a little more of that which is now appearing as nimitta. To understand even the difference quality of that which arises to experience and that which arises but cannot experience anything. So is the I firm enough to know that seeing arises and falls away? So there is not I at the moment of seeing at all, because it's only that reality arising by conditions and then fall away. Just understand. To have firm understanding of the truth, to understand a little better, well enough to be known, as now is not known, that each moment of seeing the object cannot be the door or the window or anything at all. That's why live with ignorance is just like living in darkness in life all the time. Never know what is the truth of what is there now, because what appears is only the nimitta of reality. Many realities now, like seeing cannot arise by itself. It has to have other mental factors to condition its arising to. Not just one conditions for anything which arises, but many conditions too. That's why just learning to understand the truth, even in darkness now, because it's not moment of directly understand the reality or the characteristic of any reality yet. That's why from now on, there can be moment of understanding what is there, little by little, by conditions, when there is firm enough understanding of what is there as its truth. It makes its way. There are conditions for that to arise, little by little, very gradually, even just right now, the reality which now appears can be object of mindfulness, or it can be, when there is right understanding, the direct understanding with awareness of only one characteristic at a time. So the objects begin to be well, to appear well, because there is understanding of one characteristic among many, many realities arising and falling away so very rapidly that there is no moment of being aware yet without understanding. But now, understanding what is there as just a reality, there can be conditions for directly understanding what is there now. And that moment, no doubt about the characteristic which is aware and understand that this is that which can be known when it's there as it is. Softness, heat, temperature, and so on, or smell, only when it appears at that very moment in a day. All these realities, no matter is what is real is a moment when it's there, when it's conditioned to be there. But usually the idea of things, taking it for something, the story of it as people and things and the world all the time, and no understanding of the absolute truth that actually is just moment of that which arises and falls away. That's all. So no matter what is heard about the truth, about the teachings of the truth, there has to be more understanding, deeper, and begin to be a little clearer at different stages. For example, intellectual understanding. Is it enough that what is there now can be realized, its nature, as it appears now, little by little, to understand even the reality which arises and falls away? When we're talking about that which appears, we don't talk about that which experiences. That's why so many, many things in a day or in a moment is not known until listen carefully to begin to let go the idea of self. That's why it's so subtle. The other way is not the way to realize the truth, because the truth is this moment. When there is ignorance of the truth of this moment. So it is to be developed by many conditions, not by anyone trying to understand it, but understanding a reality just in a moment. That is the way to have more understanding, to gradually, very secretly, unknowingly, letting go the idea of self. At moment of beginning to understand the truth, that the truth is all around, and one lives in the world of ignorance all around about what is there as something all the time, and I all the time, no matter the moment of feeling or memory, thinking, liking, any moment, ignorance is there. So learn just to understand the truth. That's the only way, the fourth noble truth. So very deeply, because it's not anyone trying to do anything to understand it, but hearing, considering carefully of that which now arises and falls away unknowingly, because it's so very rapidly. Even now, mind dies and sense are in between all the time. And in a day, whatever is the most of the moment, mind the process. So think about the sense of even so very, very weak, like this very soft sound, at the moment when it's there, who can separate the sensor and the minder? Because whatever experience through the sensor would be the object of the minder instantly in, and Bhavanka is in between. Who knows? That's why learn to understand the truth, and the understanding of the truth only is letting go the ignorance, attachment, and the idea of self. Now it can be known by its characteristic, which is thought to be known, but it does not appear well when they appear together with many doorways and even sense the process, not just one process, many, many uncountable process. That's why no need to think about, try to know this or that, but to understand the characteristic of that which is there, appearing one characteristic at a time, unexpectedly. That's the nature of anatta or dhammas. Who knows? Next moment would be impossible because it hasn't arisen yet. So what can be known is only that which is now appearing. Not the story of it, but the nature of it. To let go the idea of I at moment of understanding the characteristic of a reality which now experiencing an object, little by little. Like the mountain and the nail. Can anyone dig up the mountain with the nail until it's gone?
And
And-
Zita, the point about sense door, mind door, and how no one can know whether the sound is being experienced through the sense door, the mind door by way of nimitta, was also the point I was making about nimitta. So the sound, it's only heard by hearing consciousness, but it's experienced by the other cittas in the process. And it's also experienced by the following mind door process, but it's not heard at those moments. There's no hearing consciousness, but the reality of sound appears. Who can say whether it's sense door or the mind door sound before there is thinking about the shape, the form, the detail, the meaning, and so on? So I think I was just pointing to the fact that it's only the hearing consciousness that hears it, but it appears, it's experienced by the other cittas in the sense door and mind door process. And we don't have to say whether it's sense door, mind door process, because it's just the sound that appears. So it's a subtle point, but I was just pointing out how hearing and experiencing have different meanings. Just because a sound is not heard doesn't mean it's not experienced.
You just said it's a subtle point, as if it's just a subtle point, but it's incredibly difficult to even comprehend that, we hear, as in we hear. And then to think back to moments, hearing is heard by one citta, like sound is actually heard by one citta. Then there's all these other cittas that, and especially in the mind door, the sound is, it's not heard in the mind door, but the sound is object of those mind door process cittas. So
Way of nimitta, yes.
I find it difficult to grasp. I believe it's true, but it's really hard to, comprehend.
What is important is what appears now. Sound appears, there can be understanding of the characteristic of sound, and it doesn't matter whether the sound is appearing in the sense door or the mind or process. The point is that there can be understanding of the sound. But if we want to be accurate, we cannot just say that it's only hearing that experiences sound. Only hearing hears it, that's all. But the characteristic of sound can be understood even now because it's life at this very moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, thank
No
you.
matter loud sound, soft sound, any sound, it's just sound.
Mm, mm.
So then the nimitta of sound is not heard.
No, but the
Experience.
character that is experienced, but the characteristic of that sound appears, and it's an exact replica. So it doesn't matter whether it's the sense door or the mind or process, but the characteristic itself appears. It appears to the kusala or akusala citas in that mind or process.
The characteristic being it hears.
The characteristic of sound.
The characteristic of sound. Okay.
Sound.
Right.
But
Right.
it's not actually the sound because the sound has fallen
Right.
away. So
Yes.
it's the nimitta of sound.
Right.
The same object by way of nimitta. So there can be clinging to the sound or aversion to the sound or understanding of the sound itself in the mind or process, but it's actually the nimitta and not just one process. There are countless mind or processes,
Yes.
but gradually there is attending to the details, the sign of the sound, the thinking of the sound, further and further away from the actual reality.
Okay, thank you.
But always by way of nimitta.
Mhm.
I think it's a good example of how great the Buddha's wisdom was for him to realize that those moments and then to be able to teach. So we're very fortunate to have just an inkling of what he had to say, I think.
No one but a Sammasambuddha could realize such intricate points and explain and teach it, as you say.
Ajahn, you compare the akusala is like a big mountain we try to wear away with the nails. I'm not sure. It sounds like it's the trying of removing the akusala. By trying is it's useless. It's also, even if it's panya, it's very slow. It's like the wearing off of the knife handle. Can you talk more about the mountain of akusala being weared away with the nails, Ajahn? Thank you.
That's why we learn to understand only what is there which appears. Sampatichana, Santirana, Pancharavacana, and other reality. Can there be the understanding of it when it's not there? So what is there now? The reality which experiences, the object which is seen, it's not known at all as it is. There is only the understanding that there has to be that reality. Otherwise, the world cannot appear at all. Nothing. No seeing, no hearing, no sound or anything at all. That's why I begin to have confidence of whatever is there as just not I. It's real because seeing is now real, but the seeing itself is not anyone. Learn to understand each moment, little by little, whether it is that which is experienced or the experience itself. Otherwise, it's just only the understanding of the truth of this moment, that it's not self, because they're seeing, and seeing arises and it experiences the object which is seen. But learning to understand the truth that is so very subtle. That's why understanding the subtlety of reality is that which let go the idea of self in the beginning, and on when there's more understanding. In life, the very common life, natural life, what are they? Are all kinds of different realities by condition, but no understanding of anything at all. That's why beginning to learn to be truthful to the truth, and that is, no one can do anything at all. Only at moment of understanding, it begins to understand what is there. Begin to know that it's there, but not directly understand the nature of it yet. That's why understanding different levels of what is thought about that which is now appearing, instead of trying to think about other things. At moment of trying to think about anything, it's not moment of understanding the nature of that which experiences and the reality which is experienced. See, we learn about what is there now, just to understand that it cannot be taken for anything permanent at all. It's just there very shortly, and then no understanding clear about the nature of it yet, because they are together. But right understanding of one reality at a time condition the confidence of the truth, that when it appears is that which has been known by hearing and considering. For example, attachment, see, is now of what is seen or heard all the time when there's no understanding. So it's real, no one can do anything at all. It's there. It depends on whether it's time for conditions with understanding of that level can understand it with direct awareness. And when we use the term direct awareness, it means that now there's no awareness directly yet, but aware of the story of it that it's now spoken about. See, just understand that. So in truth, there are so many things which is not known as it is. They appear, but they do not be known as it is, but always as something all the time. That's why understanding this can condition moment of beginning to attend to a characteristic right now, beginning to manasikara or attend to the characteristic with some understanding of some level, but it's known from then on that it's only that which can be known because it's now appearing. That's why it's time for dhammas, any kind of dhammas which has been accumulated to arise, to appear, depending of how much the kusala dhamma and especially panya, right understanding, can understand that. And this is life, on and on. The big mountain, samsara, and the panya, nail. See, that's why understand this can let go the idea of I can do or I will try, but understanding only that which has condition to arise, and it has a reason. that which do not arise cannot be object of understanding. So now anything is thought to be known as how come and how can there be a moment of understanding the truth until it let go. Very naturally, because it's not that, oh, it's boring, it's tired, life is such and such. That is the idea of self. I think about it, but not understanding that actually it's so tiring by itself because it cannot be last at all. As soon as it has risen, it falls away. But there are so many different characteristics. Ignorance cannot understand what is there at all. And attachment arises. It cannot be changed. It is attached to the object instantly whenever it arises and falls away. And whatever is there, anger or kindness or whatever is no one at all. Just a moment of a conditioned reality. So, what is the question?
The question is that the situation is not showing, is not understood as it is, and so the mountain is not even scratched with the nails. So actually, it's getting bigger and bigger. So,
because the I is there. As long as there is the I, the question can be solved. It has to be solved to understand what the I is, not how to do that, this or that, to solve the situation or to get it better. That is always I. The problem is I. So we have to find out what is the real problem, no matter in life or of the world, in the world, anywhere. Where's the problem?
I think, Ajahn, I could put Alberto's question another way in terms of what is the problem. I think his question is whether the problem is not enough panya or the problem is too much akusala. Right, Alberto?
So there must be problem as long as there are akusala, right? And even it is kusala, is it no problem of I and kusala, or I have kusala?
the problem, yeah. As long as there is I, there is problem.
The real problem is not far away at all. Everything is so close, too close to understand, because it's just now and here and then. That's why the problem is, where is the problem? And when is the problem? And what is the problem? In order to solve the problem, without understanding what problem is, it's impossible to solve the problem, to have the problem. So where is the problem? And when is the problem? And what is the problem? To solve the problem, to have no problem anymore.
Whenever
when it is kusala, it's not a problem. But still, when there's no understanding of the truth, it's also a problem, non-stop problem.
And the simile about the dirt on the fingernail and the mountain, the Buddha uses it. We can read about it in a couple of suttas where the tiny bit of dirt on the fingernail compared to the great earth is so minuscule. So the understanding now is like a bit of dirt on the fingernail. It's not suggesting anything should be done or there should be any clawing away, but it's just pointing out how small it is compared to the earth. Whereas for those who have become enlightened, it's the opposite. What is left is so very small compared to what has been fully realized. So this is why the simile is used, but there's no suggestion that a self should do anything to claw away, but just pointing out how great the task is. A little bit of dirt being clawed away at a time.
It is, however, true that there is a mountain of akusala accumulated, but the Buddha didn't say that this was an obstacle to the beginning of the development of understanding. And only the kusala that appears can be directly known for what it is. He didn't ever suggest that one needs to examine the very depths of kusala that might be accumulated in order to see it and to know it and to somehow deal with it. I understand that's an approach that is taken by some schools, but the important thing, as we emphasize here, is to have a better understanding of what appears at the present moment, and that understanding itself will do the eradicate the gradual wearing away of the kusala over time.
I was thinking more in terms of situation, like daily life is like many different situations, and which we kind of have to solve or have to deal with, and so that's the mountain. I think I see this as the mountain of akusala because it's every time there is something we have to try to we have to deal with, and we have to how can I say, it's daily life, it's work, it's dealing with family members, dealing with friends, dealing with all the daily life things, and it's like many different situations, and which we don't understand the truth of it. And I think I see this as the mountain because there are so many different realities which are unknown, and which will be like the mountain because all of them have to be known as a reality, gradually, little by little, and that I see as the mountain of akusala in daily life, very common, very daily life.
Jonathan, we can't hear you.
Sorry. You haven't heard anything I said so far?
No.
No, okay. Thanks, Anne.
Took me a while to find the right button.
I said that it's true that there is more akusala than kusala in a day, and if you like, the way we deal with daily life situations is with akusala, much or most of the time. But these situations are what are described in Dhamma terms as the 8 worldly conditions. And in describing these worldly conditions, which we all know about, gain and loss, praise and blame, honor and dishonor, and so forth, the Buddha said that that the difference between the uninstructed person, that is worldlings like you and me, and the enlightened being is that the uninstructed person is obsessed by those things and reacts with either attachment or aversion. But the enlightened being, of course, is not obsessed by them, the fully enlightened being, and doesn't react with attachment or aversion. Now, that's what he said about it. So the difference between, in terms of development of the path of the worldling and the enlightened being, is the level of understanding of realities, not knowing how to deal with situations or somehow having any control over kusala or agusala that arises, because the fully enlightened being has eradicated both kusala, not eradicated, but has no more kusala or agusala, not just the agusala. So, in short, these worldly conditions can be just a distraction if we are too concerned about the fact that there is agusala arising in a day to deal with them, because that's not the point. The point is of the Buddha's path is just the development of understanding of the true nature of whatever reality appears. And what follows from that is what will bring the lack of obsession about the worldly conditions.
Yeah, basically, I think we are saying the same things. The daily life situation is conditioned to be exactly like as it. Without conditions, there wouldn't be any daily life. There wouldn't be anything. So what prevents from prevents the understanding from developing is the ignorance about the situation, is ignorance, taking it for what is not, all different levels, from the not seeing the rising and falling away of the reality, taking it for atta and for all the taking it for self, taking it for atta, taking it for being pleasant, taking it for being enjoyable, and that's daily life, and so we don't try. It's not trying not to have these realities arising is not according to the teachings, because if it's already there, so no point in try not to have it differently, but just to understand it as it is, instead of as a situation, as by hearing the teachings, we learn that that's not the case. That is not like that. We live because we live in a world of nimitta and concepts and etc.
So any idea of dealing with the situation or dealing with akusala or trying to change it is the wrong perception, the wrong understanding, and doesn't dig away at the mountain at all, quite the opposite.
Right. Yeah.
Perhaps Ajahn would like to say a few words about the mountain of akusala and the development of understanding.
As life goes on naturally by conditions. So one can do one's best for anything, but it can be with understanding of the truth too. Otherwise, it's just being able to solve the problem. That's what everyone can at best, but no understanding of the truth. While the truth can be understood, when there's hearing about the truth, it's there. But life still go on as usual by conditions. It open or it gives make way for the accumulated, no matter it's unwholesome or unwholesome, to arise, to appear that it has been accumulated in such way. No matter we solve the problem by this way or by the other way, by conditions or by conditions. That's why we have more compassion for anyone who does something very badly, wrongly, because of no understanding of the truth. So the best thing is to help anyone to have the understanding, to be good friend, to just whatever wholesome or good for the sake of the others too. Otherwise, how can there be the moment of understanding the truth if one is not good friend, not having any compassion, and understanding is the best thing. No one there at all, no matter a killer or the benefactor or who, must be as the accumulation has been accumulated. No one at all, even thinking, even feeling, all by conditions. So just be good friends to the other, that's all. And solve the problem as you can too, for the other's problem, if one can do. All are kusala and more kusala. The moment of kusala is the moment when akusala cannot arise at all. And daily life understanding makes way for whatever has been accumulated to show up as it has been accumulated. Otherwise, if one tries to change one's behavior, the idea of I is there added to have more cling to the I. But all by conditions, even right now, seeing pleasant object or unpleasant object of what degree can anyone choose? Can anyone do anything? Because it's impossible. It has a reason already. What can you do about that which has a reason and falls away? No time to change it at all. But to understand it as there's no I, there's no the one who is so bad or so wrong or adhamas. That's why this understanding is so pleasant. No trouble at all. Even in the bad situation, when there is right understanding, nobody can hurt you, harm you at all. It's the understanding or the ignorance which is there, not understanding the truth or understanding the truth, that it is not long at all. It's only a moment. Depending on conditions who have such that kind of moment to arise again and again and again, short or long, by conditions. But when there's no understanding, the situation is different. In order to solve, it's only to solve the problem. It's only right understanding. Of the truth of that very moment, clearer and clearer and clearer, when it develops more and more in any situation, not just in some situation only. Whatever is there now is there already. No one can change. No one can make it long last. And what is there? Chitta and Jaitasika and Rupa. It's not far away at all. So very close. Where seeing, it's at seeing itself when it's there. When is it? When it appears. And what is it? No self, no one, no thing. In truth. And what is there in daily life is the proof of understanding the truth. What is seen now, what is heard now, can anyone change? They are gone. With or without understanding, that is the point. What is meant by no one and no thing? Is it true? Is it right? No one, no thing, only different realities, which appears. So it depends on understanding whether it's there or not. Without conditions, there cannot be any understanding of the truth of what is there now. And the truth is all around, here and now. So very, very close, closer than anything else. So close that it's quite difficult to understand it because it's very close and it's gone instantly all the time. Is that closer than seeing, hearing, and thinking? Situation, the world is far away. Not as close as what is there now. The realities, the absolute realities. At moment of being aware by conditions of a reality, it gets closer to the moment, which is there, where and when and what.
And I think Ajahn touched on, made her point at the beginning when she said that in terms of the daily life situations, we do the best we can. And that's the best that can be done at a conventional level. But the development of understanding of what is appearing goes on regardless. And so we should realize that to pay too much attention to the fluctuations of daily life situation, it can be a distraction from the development of the path. We think that if we had more understanding, we'd be able to deal with daily life situations better. But I'm not sure that really follows anyway, because conventional situations require a conventional way of dealing, and not to be confused or mixed up with the understanding of the true nature of realities.
There was an example that I think Vincent wrote up about crossing the road, trying to trying to be mindful of the reality, and which of course would be dangerous because yeah, I think that's a good point, and it's also, but I think it's also possible to cross the traffic, the road with cars by and being mindful of the reality as well, because I try to count the cheetahs which arise and fall away from going to one side of the other of the street, and must be like almost an infinite number. So I think there is also time for cheetah to arise and be aware of the actual conventional situation we call crossing a busy street or something like that. I have to tell Vincent about.
I think that's
just to finish that, bearing in mind that the aim of developing understanding is not to have full-time awareness of realities either. It's just to understand realities sufficiently so that the wrong view is eradicated eventually. And that's a different thing from full-time awareness of reality.
And I was going to say, I think that what you mentioned about, while crossing the road, there can't be awareness, underestimates the power of awareness and understanding. I think that life carries on as normal, crossing the road. If someone's sick, taking them to the doctor, preparing lunch, but awareness and understanding can pop in any time at all. It only is such a brief instant. Who can say when crossing the road whether there's any understanding? So it doesn't mean that there is less attention to the cars coming or anything else. So understanding can arise anytime at all while life goes on, while doing one's best, while helping with medicine or carrying on as normal. So there's no time limit to when understanding cannot arise. It can be right now, it can be crossing the road, cooking the lunch, anytime at all. It's quite different from the conventional idea of mindfulness, which takes time and focuses on an object and so on and interferes with crossing the road. But this is not the true awareness and understanding.
Yeah, we don't sit in the middle of the road and close our eyes.
Can anything in life at any moment be understood as not self, as different realities. For example, I heard the word trying. Is it real? Is it a reality? Is it seeing? Or is it thinking? See, each moment is moment of no self and no thing. But the truth is unknown. Even the word try or trying, is it real? See, and what is it? When there's no understanding of each reality that we learn from book, Viriya Cetasika, see, not anyone at all. But when there's no understanding, it's I or me all the time. Cooking, is that Viriya? Or trying to do something, is that Viriya? We use the word Viriya as we know Viriya, but in a day, who knows Viriya, which is there? When it's there, it's not the object of understanding. It's just the word to be remembered that it's not self, it's our reality. But each word is for understanding the truth of it when it's there. Otherwise, no letting go, ignorance and clinging, taking it for I'm trying at all. That's why anything that we have learned from the book are there in daily life. And when there is enough understanding, it's time to condition moment of attending to that characteristic unexpectedly, unknowingly beforehand at all. What would be that moment? Because it's the future. It hasn't come yet. How can we expect and how can we think that it's not me or I at all? It's now talking about the truth as it's not self. But when time comes, it's time to begin to learn to understand the truth when it's there, just like now. Is there viriya? Is there phassa? Is there feeling? Is there cetana? It has to be known. Otherwise, it's there unknown. That's why learn to understand that which experiences the object, no matter in what manner, in what way, by its characteristic, which no one can change. It's real, it's there, it's conditioned, it arises and it falls away. We just learn from book, but the book just conditioned moment to understand the truth when it's there. That's why at moment of trying to do something which is so very difficult, it appears as that characteristic. But when there is no understanding of that which experiences an object by its manner or characteristic, it's not known. It is I all the time. That's why there has to be very firm confidence, even at level of intellectual understanding, to be able to understand whatever is there at moment of ready conditions to arise, to be aware and understand it. That's all. Everything in life is taught and we have learned, but when it's there, it depends on how firm it is, confidence to know. Otherwise, it thinks about other things, trying again so hard more to solve the difficult thing. See, everything's gone. The sound, thinking, and so on, or are in the book. But actually, it's not in the book. It's daily life. It's there. And it can be learned to understand its characteristic, little by little, very gradual, beginning to think about it when it's there, and then understanding it a little more. And it can be more direct to understand it, but not direct enough because it's so very subtle, arising and falling away. As long as it does show up as it is, it's not direct enough because right understanding condition more direct to the characteristic of that which is there, as not the other characteristic. That's why I learn to understand feeling right now, memory right now, like or dislike, attachment right now, ignorance right now. It's there in what we have learned. To condition moment of understanding the characteristic which is there. And this is the path, the noble truth, very subtle, very natural. Otherwise, how can ignorance be let go, never to arise again? Because of understanding what is there when it's there, when it appears. That's why understanding what is meant by parami, all kinds of parami. Now, is that very young? It's so difficult to understand, even see right now. Is there no kanti to begin again, understanding a little again and again and again? To be truthful to the truth. If there's no understanding of what is there now, it's impossible to let go. Ignorance, attachment, and wrong understanding, and other kinds of Dhamma. So natural. Otherwise, it cannot understand what has been accumulated to condition such moment in life. Is there any joy understanding the truth? Even it's so very, very difficult and so very, very subtle. But no wrong understanding about the path. In samsara,
I think that you've just mentioned something really important to me, because I think over the years that I've been studying, there's this thought that with more understanding, life could possibly be more joyful. However, in my case, I think it's quite the opposite. I seem to have more bad feeling because there's not enough panya or something, I don't know, but it's interesting to see that even if there is understanding, it's not necessarily joyful. I guess it depends on what has been accumulated over lifetimes, what, you know, joyous feeling or not so joyous. So,
otherwise, lopa cannot be known. When it's there, wanting to have more understanding, wanting to have letting go.
Yes.
And that is the second truth. Very difficult to know because it's there in life as good friend. Follow you any moment. That it's I, it's me, it's mine, it's the world, it's people and things, it's everything. Actually, no thing at all. Whatever is there is just very short and then gone. Where is it again? Never be found, never arise again. But clinging is there even to that which is not there. Begin to see attachment of clinging. A reality. Nothing can be done because it's by conditions arising and falling away, never to return. It let go, the clinging, just wanting to have arising again. So
I think Lucas, you have a question you want to bring in. Do you want, as we don't have much time, you better bring it up now, I think.
Yes, Sarah, the point is it's not the time now to put that question. It's a big question, but for further reference, maybe you can discuss it later, you know. So my question to Tanajan, if you can, Tanajan, for example, tell something about the Naya, from Naya, you know, the method, you know, so we can learn, you know, properly the Dhamma, because I started to study the Patana, you know. And I've got some questions, maybe not for today, but I wonder about this is the like ocean of Naya, you know, that's unlimited, like an ocean. So if you can tell about the Naya, maybe the method, Tanajan, please, you know, how to study Dhamma to understand. Thank you.
And what is meant by Naya?
Yeah, I don't know, because I only get from Atasilani, this is like 4 oceans, Samsara, Sagara, and Naya Sagara, and Nyanya Sagara, you know, and some ocean, you know, the 4th one. Yeah, Naya is a method, Tanajan, you know, I think.
What do you mean by method?
I mean, this is in the Atasilani, Salini, it's 4 methods, 4 oceans. Ocean of like ignorance, the birth, and ocean like an ocean, and there is ocean third as a Naya, as a method. And the 4th one is the Nyanya, you know, Nyanya Sagara, you know.
So is it a reality?
Well, yes, but not directly, not like it's reality, but I think it's something that is helpful, at least, you know.
Can we say that it's the aspect of the reality, many aspects, not only one?
Yeah, of course, of course. I want to ask you, maybe you can help for our benefit, you know, how to properly study Dhamma, because study Dhamma means the Naya too, yeah? Yes, I understand that, you know.
Whatever is real, is it only one aspect or more than one? More Naya, by way of this, or by way of that, by way of Ayatana, by way of Ariya Satya, by Naya of this, by
Yes,
Naya of that.
because it's unlimited, you know, it's said unlimited. But doesn't matter unlimited, but you know, yeah. Yeah, even the khandas are so hard to understand, you know.
So it's by way of Khanda, Naya, Naya of Khanda, Naya of Ayatana, Naya by way Ariya Satya, Naya of Ariya Satya. Many aspects, we can talk about that. So if the word is not clear about the characteristic of a reality, that should be more considering about the truth, reflecting by this way, by that way, by different Naya to understand the truth. By what is the Naya of attachment? See? It's by Naya of Ariya Satya. If it's not known, it cannot be eradicated because it's so very tricky. Anytime it's there. The food is so delicious, see? So delicious. Is that the danger of the lopa attachment? One Naya by way of Ariya Satya, it has to be eradicated. Otherwise, life has to go on because there is condition. The wishes, the hope to get it, want it, never end at all. That's why life still go on because of that lopa, one Naya. By the other Naya, by way of Ayatana, by way of Khanda, by way of Dhatu. For the word method, can it be known or understood clearly about the way it is. But when we talk about different aspects, by this naya, by that naya, by the other naya, we left the word method because we think about method in the different meaning, not by the naya of Dhamma. Is there any method?
Yes, Tanajan, well, it's translation Naya as, you know, because I'm confused about the Pali, I think the Naya something Dioniso Manasikara, but okay, Naya Salinato Salini, it says the method, yeah, it's translated to English as a method. So that's the third ocean, you know, like ocean, you know.
That's why the Pali word fits the meaning of the truth of reality than other language, I think. That's why even the Thai speak Thai, but what is the meaning of each word? It has to be solved or it has to be taught that it's this, it's this, it's this. That's why to understand Lopa by way of Ariya Satya, it has to be eradicated because it's the cause of the world, and the world is whatever arises in false way is a world. If nothing arises at all, no world at all. But when there are so many worlds arising, combining and make up the form and shape to be known as nimitta, and what it's made known is banyati. As soon as it appears, that is the moment of taking it as something, taking nimitta as snake or what. But about fish, does it hear, does it see, does it like see? Each one is one reality at a time, depending on what naya we are talking about it, in order to understand it by different nayas, to let go the clinging to each naya when it's unknown.
Tanajan, I think in the passage I mentioned the Naya, it's Sagara, it's an ocean. The 4 oceans are mentioned to the commentary to the first book Dhamma Sangani, Atta Salini. In this book, in the beginning, it's explained about the 4 oceans. So one is about the samsara and the other Naya, you know, and the other 2, you know, in that sense.
So now, are we in the ocean or we are drowned? No understanding because it's in the ocean of ignorance.
Yes, but I mean now the ocean of methods, you know. So that's the thing, you know.
I think that method is the way to do something.
Of course, of course.
Where at all?
Yeah, that's unlimited. That's the sense, you know.
No
But
way.
it's something kusala, you know, I think.
Listening and considering, reflecting carefully, wisely. But it's not do this in order to get that, try to do this in order to have that. It's not that at all. That is the wrong naya, if one takes it as the truth.
Yes, Tanajan, I agree with you. That's not what I meant. I meant the wholesome Naya like we do, you know. Just maybe it's a shortcut or something, I mean, you know, but I know what you mean, you know, but I want to know how to do it, you know, the same, you know.
That is a moment of forgetting the truth that Buddha said, all dhammas are anatta. When there is atta, it's not the way to let go. Wrong understanding and ignorance at all. And this is the naya of what we are now, is like in the ocean of ignorance. Oka, one naya. Upadana, another naya. Of
Yes,
even
Rajan,
lower.
because I asked the question because I know with this word only from one context, from the Atta Salini, the commentary to Dhamma Sangani, you know. So it was only mentioned this, I know only from that 4 oceans, you know. So, well, maybe, you know.
Salini is not wrong, but the understanding is so very, very superficial. Without the careful considering the truth, it's impossible to understand Naya. But since different Naya, like by Naya of Arya Satya, by Naya of Khanda, see, but it's the reality. That's why Lopa is Aswa, is Upadana, is Silapatapamasa, and so on. To understand it when it's there, by what kind of Naya, what Naya is there. At moment of understanding it, as it's not permanent, it's a Naya of Arya Satya. At moment when it is Aswa, it's there, so very, very subtle. Only 3 moments after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. The Lopa is Aswa, Kamaswa, Puaswa, Titaswa, Avichaswa. Avichaswa is Avicca, ignorance. But Lopa is the Kamaswa, Puaswa, and Titaswa. It arises with Titi. And when it arises with clinging to being, it is Pavasava. And when it arises at moment of experience, the object, sensuous object, it is Kamasva.
Lucas, I think we actually have discussed this topic on the list a bit.
Of course,
but
thank you, Dhanajan. Thank you.
there is a specific reference which says that the ocean of method is the 3 Pitakas, the word of the Buddha. So perhaps the word method here is being used in a way that is different from what you have in mind, but it'll be a good subject to discuss further next time. I think time is up for now. Thank you very
Yes, so
much.
John, we agree this is Kusalanaya, yeah? Kusalanaya, yeah, okay, thank you.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ